Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Dirty and Driven podcast. My name is James Deviney, and I am your host. This is the show where our mission is to gain, train, and retain solid people in the blue-collar world. Our goal is to bring people to the blue-collar world, teach them how to kick ass. Today, I've got a little bit different of a Friday episode. Today is just one with just me. And before you turn it off, I'm going to keep this thing short, sweet, to the point, because I have something that's just urgent and passionate on my mind right now. I'm going to skip all the normal introductions and this, that, the other that I usually do. It's just me and you. So guys, I just want to come to you today and I want to tell you about an experience that I had yesterday. Yesterday, I got to sit down with a lot of very awesome people that are dedicated to helping others, helping those that are less fortunate, helping those that are in a tough cycle of life, which is many of you, many of us. The last few years have been hard on a lot of people, and it's only getting harder, it seems like, with all the craziness going on in the world, the politics, the inflation, just all this crazy stuff going on around us. It's such a volatile time in history. Well, yesterday I sat down with dozens of people that are involved in nonprofit organizations and organizations that are just dedicated to helping those who are in bad spots in life. And the main topic we talked about was generational poorness, generational poverty. Now, what is generational poverty? That is a cycle of people that have remained impoverished throughout the course of their families. Their dad, their grandpa, everybody above them, they were in poverty and they've just passed it down the line. These are people who were just born into it and have not figured out how to break the mold. And why am I talking about that on a construction podcast, man? You might be asking. Well, because it affects all of us. Honestly, the people that you hear about that live in this sort of generational poverty, they're not the people that are typically listening to other type personal development podcasts and stuff like that. It's blue collar workers, man. It's people who go and they work for a living with their hands, and they just aren't making enough to make ends meet, or they can't figure out how to make ends meet, or they're just barely making ends meet, or they're so far in debt that it's ridiculous. That's what we're talking about. And I want to talk about this both from the perspective of how leaders in the industry, whether you are a leader in this industry, you're an owner, you're a manager, you're somebody who can help and provide resource, can help break this cycle, or how you as an individual, if you're going through this cycle, can also break the cycle and keep things moving forward in your life and for your family. So let's break this down. What's an example of generational poverty, man? What does it mean to be poor? I think that means different things to different people, but overall being poor, in my opinion, is a mindset. One time I heard Terry Crews tell a story. I saw him live at a speaking engagement. It was really awesome. And he told a story about how he was complaining to his dad how he's poor and he's tired of being poor. His dad was a blue-collar factory worker, just kind of like his character that he played in Everybody Hates Chris, right? You know, he's the guy wearing the blue jumpsuit and, you know, counting every dollar and everything like that. You know, I guess his dad was a lot like that too. In real life. And he said, "Dad, man, I'm tired of being poor. I'm tired of all this." And he said, "No, son, being poor is a mentality. You're wanting all this stuff. You're wanting money. You're wanting air conditioning. You're wanting new clothes. You're wanting nice things, a TV. You're wanting all these luxuries. But we can't afford them. But we have some things that are really important in our life. We have our family. We have people who love each other. We have food on the table. You know, we've got enough to make it and to make it worth it. We're not poor because being poor is a mentality. You, son, are broke." Now, That story might resonate with some of you. Some of you might just be in a position right now where you're like, I don't feel poor, I've got enough, but man, it's hard to make those bills meet. All right, you're just broke, right? We've all been broke before. At least most people have. They've all had times where they've struggled to make a payment, or they're just barely squeaking along, feeling good, and all of a sudden you get a flat tire and a roof leak, and you're like, oh shit, now I don't know how to fix this. Or your AC goes out, and you're like, dude, I ain't got $5,000 under the couch cushions. I mean, I'll go look for some loose change in the backseat of the car or something, but man, I can't afford to fix my air conditioning. These are examples of what we're talking about. So let's just break this down. I'm not going to make this a super long episode. First of all, I believe that as employers and as leaders in the industry, it's important to educate your people on this. Okay? And even if you're not, if you're just somebody who has broken this cycle and has broken the mold, man, lead by example and be somebody that people can rely on and look up to and count on for help, and lead by example. And I'm just going to preface all this with, it's probably going to be slow going. Any of this, breaking this cycle is not an overnight thing, right? And breaking somebody out of the generational poverty, I mean, there's years, a lifetime of a certain mindset that you have to try and break. And as I say all the time, it's small change over time. It's just like somebody who's obese and wants to lose weight. They're not going to just overnight all of a sudden be like, well, I'm hot, fit, and skinny. No, it's small changes over time and helping people develop these habits. So one time I was speaking to the CFO of a large construction company, and I said, one thing that would really benefit you all is to teach your people finances, just basic financial literacy, financial skills, how to pay your bills, how to calculate an interest payment, how to understand cash flow, money coming in, money coming out, how to understand what you're doing out on the job and how much materials cost and stuff like that. Just basic financial stuff that has to do with their job and with their lives. And they said, why the hell would we teach that? Why is that my responsibility to teach that? They should have been taught that in school. Their parents should have taught them that. Maybe so. But the reality is they didn't. Okay, they weren't born to parents who understand this stuff. The schools don't have the resources. The schools are barely getting by as it is. The schools already have class sizes of 30 kids, and they don't have money to open up and do more of this stuff. Sure, maybe there is a personal financial literacy class. I can tell you, I took a personal financial literacy class in high school, and you know what I learned how to do? Balance a damn checkbook. You know how many times I've had to balance a checkbook in my life? None, because I don't use a checkbook, because it's the 21st century, right? Some people still do, but that's your thing, right? But that's not even personal financial literacy. That's just balancing a checkbook. We need to teach our people this stuff, because guess what? Every day they are going out and they are spending or playing with your money. They represent your money. You're paying them an hourly wage. You're paying them salary. You've got a crew of 20, 30 guys out there, and your guy in charge doesn't know anything about finances. It's important to teach them this stuff so they understand just on a basic level how the money works in your company, and not just like, oh, wow, this is a $1 million job. They're sure getting rich off me on this one. But in all reality, you may have that job bid tighter than hell and not making any money on it. But they don't know that unless you teach them. Another reason we should teach stuff like this is because guess what, man? Your guy who you pay a good wage to gets a flat tire. And he doesn't have $200 in his bank account to go buy another tire. Now he can't get into work. Now he shows up late or misses completely one day. And then he does it a couple days in a row. And because he has no vehicle, or he doesn't have reliable transportation because his car's a bucket of bolts, right? So now he's not showing up to work. And instead of saying, hey, buddy, how can we help you? Most companies say, man, if you can't make it, you're gone. And they fire him. They lose his job. And now he's SOL again. He's on the streets. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a car. Now he doesn't have any of this. So he's screwed. But if he had some basic financial skills beforehand, he might have enough to go buy him a tire or put gas in his car or something. So it's about taking care of your people so they can get to work and they can work efficiently for you. That's incredibly important. And it's not just financial skills. On the financial deal too, though, I just want to say another thing. What's one of the top causes of arguments and depression in people's lives and their relationships? It's money. It's money. If your people can't pay their bills, even though they're working for you, even though they're working a livable wage, but they can't afford to pay their bills, that's a huge stress on them at home. And it might cause some serious anxieties at home. And it might cause serious stress all day at work because now they're sitting here freaking out all day long about, dude, I got to pay my bill by the end of today. But if I don't, I'm going to get shut off and I'm not going to have electricity and my wife's going to leave me and stuff's going to happen. And it just all starts compounding in their head and it affects their mental health. But again, if we could have just taught them and explained to them how this stuff works before it even got to that point, then they'd probably be a lot happier and not so stressed coming into work because, money doesn't make life great, but it can take off certain burdens such as not knowing where your next meal comes from or not knowing if you're even going to have electricity when you get home tonight. Stuff like that, man. It's stuff that we don't always think about. It's stuff that we don't think about when we're not faced with those problems, but it's a bad reality of a lot of people that are in this industry. If you develop your people and you work on your people, they're going to be a lot better employees for you. And I do believe that it is our responsibility as leaders to develop them and to make sure our people are listening and they are learning and they're becoming kick-ass individuals. If you pour into these people and you invest a lot into these people and you let them know that, hey, man, I'm a resource for you and I want you and I see potential in you. I want you to be great. Hopefully they take that call to action. Hopefully you can encourage them and motivate them to where they go out and they say, yes, let's do this. And it might be small things here and there over time. And you might have people that have no interest in it and they just keep screwing up and they keep falling into these bad patterns that they've always known. And you may have just some duds that are like, dude, screw you. I don't want any of this. Fair. Maybe you don't need those people in your company anyways. But if you develop badass people like this, you're not only going to develop them as people, and they're going to take that home and they're going to spread that to their wives and they're going to spread that to their husbands and they're going to spread that to their kids and they're going to spread that to their friends and they're going to be a positive influence in other people's life, and it's all going to flow and it's all going to make small changes in tons of lives. Let's say you have 10 people who work for you and they go home and they affect their 5 closest friends and family members. All of a sudden, because you've poured in and invested in these 10 people, 50 people have changed. Now, if we all did that, if we all as managers and owners and leaders did that, think about how many people we could potentially create to be killers. All because we took a little bit of time and a little bit of effort to invest in people who have never been invested in. Where have I seen some companies do great things of this, man? Some examples I see is companies setting up payroll deductions for people to pay rent. Shit, I have a renter who does this. He works in construction. I get a check from his company every month. They're not paying for his rent, but they are helping him escape that trap of generational poverty of not having a roof over his head. They're saying, hey, man, we're going to help you find a house that you can afford that's not above your means, and it's not a crap hole, but it's one that you can afford, and it's decent, and we are going to deduct your check and pay your rent. So that way you are not out on the streets, homeless, as I suspect this individual has been before, And they're like, if you don't have a place to live, then you might move or you might go somewhere else. And he's a good employee. And they say, we want you here. We want to help you. We want you to be responsible. We want your bills to be paid and your rent to be paid so that way you don't get kicked out of your house and you don't have to go somewhere else to relocate to find somewhere to live. You don't have to be out on the street. You're not going to be missing work because you slept God knows where last night and can't get here. No. We're going to help you learn to be responsible. We're going to help you do these things so that way you can be responsible. And that's amazing. And they're explaining this stuff to these people and they're just taking this stuff out of their checks and helping them do that. Now, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you think that that's holding their hand. Fair. I get it. In this case, this is how these people are helping some of their guys stay because they don't want their people kicked out of their houses. Other stuff is just teaching, just having classes where you say, hey, this is how we're doing this. We're going to do a personal financial program where we want to see people develop their habits, start paying off their debts. Let's learn how to do that. Let's teach our people about credit card debts. Let's teach them truly how a 401k works. Let's teach them that stuff. Let's educate them on that stuff. It's not that hard. It just takes a little bit of time. Your new hires, you can spend a little bit of time with them and explain how 401ks work and how a Roth IRA works and how, even though you're only 21 right now, I promise you need to start saving for retirement if you have the opportunity, especially if we have 401k with a match, right? You don't have to be a financial advisor for them, but you can certainly help them along and just give them some coaching and guidance on what to do because, again, odds are they've never had anybody do that. So as a company, ask yourself today, what can I do to pour into my people to help them break this deal of generational poverty? I can tell you this right now, and then I'm going to get into the individuals, and I'm going to start calling you guys to action. When I spoke with these nonprofit boards, these are people who deal with all sorts of stuff. I talked to somebody who dealt with veterans. I talked to somebody who deals with sexual assault and domestic abuse victims. I talked to individuals who deal with poverty. I talk to individuals who deal with kids. I talk to individuals who deal with seniors. And I talk to food banks. I talk to the mission. I talk to all these people, and they all said the same thing. They all said, our numbers are getting higher in people who need our services. Our food banks are getting an influx of more people. That's terrifying, and that should scare all of you. Yes, these are great organizations. Yes, it's amazing that more people have these resources to go to get help. But let's be honest here. These organizations are like going to the doctor. You go to the doctor and they give you a fix to fix the pain right now, but they often don't fix the root cause. It's up to us to fix the root cause. Now, sure, we can only take responsibility for our lives, but we can also take the responsibility to give the tools and resources to those that will listen. It's amazing that we have these organizations, but it's terrifying to think that so many more people today are having to use them because they don't know how to break the cycle. And a lot of you business owners have broke the cycle before. You have broke out of poverty. I know so many construction business owners that are 8th grade dropouts. They're high school dropouts. They never went to college. They ran away from home whenever they were 16 years old. They lived a hard life doing some hard things. And then one day they started a business and grew and grew and grew. And now they're millionaires. That's a common story, man. And your story can help a lot of the people that work for you now if you just remember where you came from and you remember how to speak to those people. You should want to go out in your parking lot and see nice vehicles that are not hemorrhaged in horrible amounts of debts. You should want your people to be able to buy houses or rent somewhere nice. You should want your people to be proud to work for you and proud of the opportunities that you teach them. Because if you give them something that makes them feel like they have a purpose and feels like you're pouring into them, you're going to have a lot better retainage rate, right? gain, train, retain. If you're doing this kind of stuff and you're investing, so many people, especially young people, are hungry for somebody to invest in them because a lot of parents, frankly, suck. And they need somebody to teach them and coach them and mentor them. And we can do that. And you don't have to do some big crazy thing. Just in your safety meetings, talk about some of this stuff for 5 minutes. If that. Talk about like, hey, here's this job. Here's kind of some of the cost breakdowns of material costs and this, and that. And after time of doing that, you might eventually spark something. And somebody says, hey man, I want to learn more about that. Great. If you have a guy who shows up late to work all the time and you know he's a good employee and you know he has a lot of potential, ask him what's up. Why are you late all the time? Don't just write him up. Don't just send him to the wayside. Say, man, what's up? What can we do to help you? What can you do to help yourself? What resources do you need? Where's the line? Oh, you can't come in because you don't have reliable transportation? Well, let's set up a budget for you. Let's set up a savings plan and let's get you something better. Right? Ask these questions. Oh, you didn't come in because you were freezing all night because you haven't had electricity for months? Man, let's make a plan. Let's make that work. Because the thing is, a lot of construction workers are making pretty good money right now. Livable wages, very livable wages. Especially even just starting out. And sure, it might be tight. It might not be dream house luxury royalness, but it's nice. You can live on it. You just got to know how. So let's talk about the individual. What can you do? You who's still listening who says, all right, man, how do I break generational poverty? Well, thanks. I'm glad you asked. It's just one step at a time, man. It is doing things intentionally and going out of your way to make sure you have what you need and what your family needs, and prioritizing where you spend your money. If you come and you say, man, I can't pay my electric bill, I can't pay this bill, I can't pay that bill, my rent's coming due, boss man, he's getting mad because I'm showing up late all the time because my car sucks. Man, if that's you, let's talk about where you can make change. For one, man, if you're complaining about not being able to pay your bills, but you have energy drinks and cigarettes every day, where are your priorities? Truly, where are your priorities? If you cannot even turn on the lights in your house, or you can't afford food, but you have a $3 energy drink every day and a $10 pack of cigarettes every day, where do your priorities lie? That's a good question, right? So first of all, I would just outline your priorities. All right. I would figure out, I'm not going to go into all the nuts and bolts of setting a budget in your finances, but I would just look at what you make and I would look at what your expenses are and I would look at what you have to pay. All right. Do you have to pay off child support? Do you have things garnishing on your wages? Do you have all that stuff that's going to get taken out already? Okay, great. All right. Let's factor that in there. Are you saving it all for the future? Are you putting your 4% or whatever in your 401k for your employer to match? Are you doing some of these really basic things you can do to get a little bit of money saved up? Educate yourself on that. Educate yourself on your finances. I think that that's super important for people to do. Shoot, man, anymore, there's tons of YouTube videos. There's tons of books. There's tons and tons of information. Hell, if nothing else, man, just go to Dave Ramsey. Learn how to get out of debt. I know a lot of blue collar people that don't make a ton of money, but they make enough, and they got out of debt doing that Dave Ramsey stuff. All right? Throw away your credit card. Start paying that crap off if you have serious credit card debt, and really start taking your finances seriously. Get that in check. All right? Just because you've always been poor, you've always lived poor, doesn't mean you have to continue to be poor. Next, man, learn how to build relationships with those people that are in charge. All right. If your electric's shut off and you're calling and you're just being an absolute asshole and a bum about it, don't do that. Be respectful. Be kind. Go in there. Talk to them like they're humans, and they'll talk to you like you're a human. They don't want to shut your stuff off, but if you don't pay, they can't provide the services, right? Build relationships with those people. Build relationships with your bankers. Build relationships doing that stuff and educate yourself. Again, it comes down to how much do you want to educate yourself? Do you want to watch mindless TV and mindless bullcrap like that? Or do you want to be a more productive citizen in society? Start researching, how does house insurance work? How does car insurance work? How do interest loans work for cars? Hey, I need a new car. How do I buy one smart and not get myself way over my head in debt? Where my priorities lie? Break the mold, man. Don't get yourself in crippling debt. There's a lot of things you could probably give up, a lot of luxuries. Maybe you can't. Maybe you've already given up a lot of luxuries so you can get by and save up and work towards the life you want. That's great if you have. A lot of people don't. A lot of people have vehicles that they can't afford. They live above their means. A lot of people have houses they can't afford and live above their means. A lot of people buy a lot of just dumb things. It's only $1 here, $5 there, $10 there. But guess what? That adds up to real money. So figure out all that and just research how this stuff works. Research if I buy a house, what do I need to have with it? Do I need to have insurance? Do I need to, have this kind of stuff? Like, I didn't know I had a tree branch fall on my roof and it scraped my roof up and I didn't have house insurance because I didn't even know that I had to have it. Yeah, let's educate yourself on that kind of stuff. Educate yourself on that kind of stuff. It's never too late. It's never too late. You can always turn it around. Even if you're 50, 60, 70 years old, you can turn it around. Right? Another thing that I want to include, and this goes to everybody, be there for your kids. Employers, encourage your employees to be there for their kids. If they got a baseball game, don't sit here and say, man, we got dirt to move. Say, all right, go be in your kid's life. Your kids need you. If you want to break that generational poverty, be there for your kids. Teach them what you wish you would have known whenever you were their age. Teach them that, hey, you can achieve whatever you want in this life if you just go after it and you are willing to learn and you're willing to teach yourself and you're willing to find the right people to teach you. Teach your kids that they can achieve anything they want and be there for them. Don't be a deadbeat. Be there for your kids. I don't know everybody's situations, obviously, and I know that some people can't or whatever, but be there for them. If you're trying to turn your life around, just continue to work hard and continue to be smart about what you do and your decisions. Just know that things like the bars and cigarettes and nicotine addictions and all that costs a lot of money. And if you can't even pay your bills, it might be time to start considering your priorities and stop blaming others. I think that that's what I want to end this on. Actually, I will end on this point, but I want to say this first. One other thing that you can do to break the mold is learn how to eat well, live well. All right? Learn how to eat well. Learn how to nourish your body to keep your mind running good, to keep your body running good. If you eat well and you just move, you don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to be all super keto, fad diet person. You just need to learn how to eat well, manage what you eat, move more, get your blood moving, exercise a little bit, eat well and live well. Okay? Stay out of the doctor's offices. Stay out of spending that kind of money. Stay out of that stuff. It will save you a lot of money in the long term by being healthy. And what I want to end on this is this. Quit blaming others. Quit blaming the man. Quit blaming the government. Quit blaming the president. And just know that you're in this situation because you chose to be. Whether consciously or not, if you're sitting there, you're looking at everybody else and you're saying, boy, that must be nice, must be nice, must be nice, must be nice. You're just blaming others. You're just saying, oh, well, he got that because his dad's this or he works for that. No. Quit blaming others and just look in the mirror and say, how can I better myself today? And if you better yourself today and you encourage others to better themselves today, we can all get better. And this world will be better. This life will be better. This industry will be better. People in this industry come from some hard pasts. All right, ones that they can't control. You can't control your past. You can't control your childhood. You can't control who you were born to. But you can control on where you go next. You can control today. You can take initiative. You can take initiative tomorrow, and you can take baby steps to getting better and breaking the cycle. Guys, that is all I have for you today. I hope you go out, you have a great weekend. I hope that you truly consider this and ponder this and use it to help others get better. If you want to hear more, you want to talk more, feel free to reach out to us, DM us, email us, dirtyanddriven@gmail.com. Follow us on social media @dirtyanddriven. Guys, go out there and fucking do something hard today. Get after it.